Phase 1, IQ4. How much does this whole kit cost?
$80,000.
Some of the things I always aspired to as a photographer was shooting with the digital back medium format camera like a Phase 1. That to me was the pinnacle of photography. That was the Grail.
Well, it's the best of the best. I don't think there's anything quite like it out there.
Now, this is a medium format camera.
That's right.
Which is different from your typical mirrorless camera, DSLR camera.
I mean, the sensor's just that much bigger. It's 150 megapixels. And if you're printing stuff, I mean, it really makes a difference.
Now, I've got Peter's work scattered throughout my house, scattered throughout the office. His ability to take an ordinary object, but show the imperfections in it, show the story behind the things that we have on or around us every single day and make them into art. I'm fascinated by his work. We're gonna go to his studio and actually shoot some of this stuff ourselves with a Phase 1 camera.
It's remarkable how much engineering goes into them. They drive trucks over them, put them under the wall. It's like they really over-design it to the point of absurdity. It's an amazing piece of equipment.
I remember growing up, I always wanted to shoot Phase. I was always like,
Me too.
That's when you know you've made it.
This lens is a Canon.
Yeah, weight and size.
Schneider
120 mil macro that was specifically designed for the 150 megapixel digital back.
I would be so nervous dropping this, or I feel like insurance on this would also just be gnarly.
It is. I had to get special insurance just to be able to rent it. I mean, I would love to own one of these guys, but I borrow them from the guys at B3K.
Yeah, shout out to those guys for hooking this up so we can make this video and shoot those images and do those prints. Thanks, guys.
I don't even know how to turn on a Phase 1 because I've never been able to use one until today.
Explain to me why you like using this tripod.
The studio stand, again, it's just like the micro adjustments. Like what we're basically doing is we're turning the camera into a microscope, and anywhere where you can sort of have stability and precision, that's what you want. With this, it's just easier to work than a tripod, especially when you're shooting straight down.
Yeah, it seems a lot more efficient than just standing over a table and winging it.
I think so. I'm moving this versus moving the watch. It's really nice to have that capability to just like move a platform.
The object is still set up the way you like it.
Yeah.
This is so different from how I'm used to shooting.
It takes a lot of patience. You have to really give yourself time and kind of be okay with making these minute adjustments for 20, 30 minutes sometimes before you take the first image.
You're shooting tethered then?
So this camera is connected to the computer. So this is our focusing here.
You focus on the computer and then you're not touching it.
I'm just gonna actually shoot a test on this and see what it looks like when we're out of live view. So put the mirror up for a second.
Oh, you shoot from the computer too.
So check it out. So this is where it's actually sharp right now. So we're sharp on the lug. Like the 50, for instance, is soft.
But the bezel is soft, yeah.
What we're gonna do,
You're stacking.
we're stacking it. I'm gonna set the parameters for the focus stack. So I'm shooting the closest point away that I want to focus and the furthest point away that I want to focus.
Can you explain that so the people at home that have never heard of focus stacking get kind of like a quick Cole's Notes education on what it is and why you would do it?
When you have an object and it's got depth, so picture a marble or a golf ball. So between the very front of that object to the back of that object, you have multiple planes. And so what focus stacking does is it incrementally takes image after image after image after image from front to back, and then you take that set of images and put it through a software that can identify which part of those images is actually sharp, and it automatically blends that group of images seamlessly into one sort of supernaturally ultra sharp image, and it becomes an incredibly powerful tool when it comes to product photography.
The camera will automatically tell me how many images it needs to stack in order for that entire range to be in focus. Okay, all right. So now I'm gonna exit live view and I'm gonna tell the camera to start shooting. Does it tell you how many shots it's gonna take? 23. So 23 images, in theory, if this works, is what it'll take for this entire watch to be in focus. So now I'm gonna hit shoot and the mirror's up on the camera. Gotta hold still because it's a long exposure, 1/10 of a second, and here we go. What I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna export them all The thing that Peter and I have to decide is how much of this crud is acceptable.
How good is Peter Andrew in Photoshop? You're about to find out.
I do my best.
What resolution are these images?
They are 150 megapixels. So when
150?
Yeah, 150. And when we export them too, they're TIFFs at 100%. So each file is 401 megabytes, or about half a gig per image.
10254 by 13. Nearly a 10 gig photo.
10 gigs worth of data that makes one photo. The next step is we open this software called Helicon. You bring in the images that we just photographed, hit render, and this is a really cool thing to watch, and basically blend them all together. You know, it's the magic part of the focus stack. So there it is. This is straight out of camera, but what you really want to look for is any sort of weirdness along the edges, and we think we did a very good job with this guy.
I had no idea it was so scratched out.
But before we dive into that and spend literally more than 6 to 7 hours retouching a single photo, a quick thank you to Artlist for sponsoring today's video. You know, it is brands like Artlist that support this channel that enable us to make cool videos like this with cool equipment. The thing I like about Artlist is when you hear the music and when you listen to the music and you put the music into your project, it feels like something that didn't come from a website that supplies music. Does that make sense? You know when you hear a royalty-free song. There's a certain sound to it where you're like, oh yeah, royalty-free. But then there's some music and sounds that you hear where it transcends that and you don't know. You're just feeling something and it almost slips into the background, which is where you want it because it just becomes full encompassed with the art that you're consuming. Does that make sense? That's when you know you've got something special. And that's the quality of music you're gonna find from Artlist. One of our favorite features is how fast we can find songs. The filters are great. It breaks it down super easy. We're not sitting on this website mindlessly scrolling until we find something that might work. You get the track that you need, you put it in the timeline, you get back into the flow. It's all about not breaking that rhythm as an editor. If you are a creator that makes internet videos, that makes anything for brands, that creates anything at all, it's an invaluable resource, and they have different subscription plans that are gonna best suit you. So you're paying for exactly what you need to be paying for, not for stuff that you don't need. Check out Artlist in the description below, and anyone that signs up through the link below gets an extra 2 months free added to their subscription. Not bad. Thanks again to Artlist for sponsoring today's video.
There's halo from the ring light that's on the Cyclops, and so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna shoot a separate exposure with the watch in the exact same place. We're actually just gonna move the light ever so slightly, shoot that, cut it out, plop it in here.
That is a level of detail I feel like I've never seen in photography. I would be photographing everything I owned like this.
Yeah, like it's just literally going through the drawers and thinking about which coin, which baseball card, which whatever. Like it's just so fun. You know, when you get a microscope for your 8th birthday or something like that, you just want to see what stuff looks like. It definitely comes from a fixation on the imperfections of things. It's not about seeing how perfect something is. It's actually seeing the dots and warts and scratches. It gives it almost like a 3-dimensionality because it's not a rendering, it's not a painting. It's like it's got all that photographic detail. It looks like you're looking at a giant Rolex on the wall or a giant penny.
Here is Peter retouching both images of both watches. But let's focus on this day date, my dad's watch. Now the difficulty with this watch is it has a brushed dial. So the dial isn't just flat black. We gotta make sure that pattern stays intact throughout the entire retouching process. Not to mention all the little bits around the date window, which we call the Cyclops. I'm gonna paint a reflection onto that Cyclops so it looks like it's got a nice, perfect catalog style shine to it. But the biggest thing here is the crown. When you're taking a picture of a watch, you need to stop the second hand. Now, in order to stop the second hand, you gotta pull the crown all the way out. That doesn't look good in a photo though. So what we do is we pull the crown out, set the watch to where we want it to be, and then in post, you're gonna cut the stem off the watch and then slide the crown back in. Having to take one side of a hand and paste it to the side of another hand. There's a lot of little things going on here, as you can see, that make the perfect image. Or as I should say, the imperfect image, because that's what's so special about this photo.
starters, I had no idea how much grime and garbage was on these watches until I saw them this close with this much detail. My first question is, with the Cyclops window, how long did that take you to get rid of all the garbage around that date window? That's insane.
This one, I would say, is about 3.5, 4.5 hours, and then this one, I would say, is probably about 2.5.
But they look perfect. You never know.
Thanks. I can still see it, but I appreciate that.
It does make you appreciate, though, the craftsmanship of it, because like when you can look at it this close and it's still, this is 1985 and it's still in great condition and looks awesome.
I know.
I think that's what makes these photos cool, though, is I always talk about texture and how much I love it, but if these were perfect, they would just look like screen grabs from the website. And they don't look this bad in real life.
They don't.
Only with a 150 megapixel medium format camera do they look this uncared for.
Those images turned out absolutely fantastic. The shot of my dad's watch, I want to get it framed in this super ornate gold frame, and I want to hang it on the brick wall in the studio downstairs. It's a cool way of remembering him without having just a giant picture of my dad on the wall. There's just nothing wrong with, and maybe with the new studio, I should do that and put them side by side. Special thanks to Peter Andrew for having us to his studio, showing us how all this software works, showing us how this camera works, and bringing us into the world of medium format digital photography at the level that he's doing it. If you haven't already, give Peter a follow, check out some of his work. Honestly, it's the kind of art you want to hang in your house, and I have about 7 of them. It's absolutely beautiful stuff. Please show him some love. Thanks again, dude, for everything with this video. All right, hope you learned something. Hope you had fun. Guess we should go make another video because this one took like 2 weeks to do. See you later.